Welcome to the Fortified Life Podcast, where we learn how to develop a dependency on Jesus in the marketplace. From the boardroom to the bathroom, God is with you. Here's our host, author, speaker, teacher, encourager, stewardship coach, and my husband, the man they call Mr. Fortified, Jason Davis.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Jason Davis, aka Mr. Fortified, back for another episode of the Fortified Life Podcast, where we are passionate about developing a dependency on Jesus in the marketplace. We get to interview coaches, CEOs, business owners who are passionate about integrating faith into their work, and it's no different this week. We're really excited to have this particular guest on. He's a very passionate individual. He loves what he does. But before I bring him on, let me introduce him to you. Ken Coleman is the nationally syndicated radio host of the Ken Coleman Show and #1 national best-selling author. Since 2014, he has served at Ramsey Solutions, where he offers expert advice to help thousands of people every day discover what they were meant to do and how to land their dream job. Please welcome to the Fortified Life Podcast, Ken Coleman. Ken, how's it going, man?
I am living the dream, Jason. Good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Good to be with you as well. Well, Ken, as a work expert, and you've got your own show here on the Ramsey Network, we know that you didn't just wake up in 2023 and find yourself where you are now. Kind of give us a chronicle of your professional journey and how you became a Ramsey personality.
Well, I was a young man who had a pretty healthy dose of ambition, and at the age of 16 felt as though the direction for my life was supposed to be in politics, eventually running for office. And so I went out on that path. I was working for the governor of Virginia by the age of 22 and did that for about a year, and then got into the private sector with the hopes of building up a business and leadership resume that would make me an attractive candidate one day. That led me to some really fun gigs as a speaker booking agent, for celebrity speakers. Then I went to work for a leadership guru, John Maxwell, in Atlanta. And it was in that season where I was there where I was kicked out of the nest, if you will. John had decided to sell the company. The new ownership came in. They had their own leadership team. I was on the old leadership team. And so I was redundant. And so I was kind of nudged out of the nest, and I had already been in a season of questioning whether or not politics was, in fact, the right path for me. And that happening, if you will, getting nudged out of the nest, really heightened the focus on, well, what is, if it's not politics, let's make sure that it is, in fact, not politics, that it might be something else, and let's figure that out. And so began that process, and that led me to the self-discovery process that's kind of underneath everything I teach today, of just examining my life, my experience, my talent, what I enjoyed doing, what results I care deeply about. And as I began to life map and begin to look deeply into my heart, broadcasting became an option, but it didn't feel like it was possible. It felt very, very far away, because I didn't have a degree in it. I had no experience in it. I was in my early 30s, which is essentially an old man to start out into broadcasting. And so I sat kind of stuck for several years, 2 to 3 years, and went through a dark season of fear and doubt and pride being the voices that were predominant in my head. And then eventually, through God's grace and mercy and good wife and some good friends, and really my heart, just not the call on my heart just wouldn't be quiet. So I snapped out of it and began to take steps forward. And I had, as a part of that, had become the host of a podcast called the Catalyst Podcast, which was one of the top podcasts in all of the faith world, and was interviewing top pastors and leaders in the faith world, and then some business leaders and sports leaders as well. And that afforded me the opportunity to interview Dave Ramsey several times on that podcast, on a live stage in front of 12,000 leaders. And we had mutual friends, but we became professional friends, if you will. And as I launched into my own radio show in the Atlanta area where I lived as a real step of faith, and did that for 2 to 3 years on local talk radio. Dave was paying attention unbeknownst to me, and we had had meetings before and had talked about possibilities, but nothing ever concrete. And the timing just eventually worked out to where Dave invited me up and said, we'd like to talk to you about a role here. And that's how it happened. So I'm trying to make a very, very long story with a whole lot of intricate details short. But it was just really me being faithful and stepping out. And because I stepped out, God honored that and gave me visibility with people like Dave Ramsey. And as a result, Dave gave me a shot that's changed my life.
Wow, Ken, that's a powerful story of your journey. The word that was coming to mind for me was resiliency, because you mentioned in the kind of the radio space that when you hit your 30s, that's kind of being an old man. So I think about resiliency and I think about audacity. Can you maybe talk and speak into that, Ken, that you weren't, even in coming out of that dark place, you weren't willing to allow things like your age or timing to stop you from doing what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I love the word audacity, and it usually has a negative context. When we use it, most of the time it's usually used in a way of describing someone who's done something nonsensical or, rash. But I think audacious behavior is bold behavior, and bold behavior is rooted in belief. And so in this context, I don't think you could be audacious and act with audacity if you don't have a tremendous amount of clarity. And so what I've learned over the years as I've looked back on my journey and continue to press forward and step into new territory, as well as coach people. I've coached close to 7,000 people on the air live over the last several years. There's a formula that I've realized that clarity breeds confidence and confidence breeds courage. So the more clear I am, the more confident I am. And the more confident I am, the more courageous I can be. But you cannot summon courage just out of willpower. I just don't believe that. I think courage is a result of getting extremely clear on why you need to do something, what you need to do, how you need to do it, where you need to do it, whatever it is. Getting extreme clarity creates belief that is the confidence to step out, to step into something, to step up. And then when life puts something in your path that's pretty scary, we only keep going with courage. And that courage, again, arrives when it's needed. You don't just summon it. It shows up as a result of, I was very clear. I am still very clear as to why I've stepped out onto this path. And I believe that I'm supposed to do it, and it's for the right reasons, and that I can do it, so that no matter what comes my way, I'm going to stay with it. And that's where courage just shows up. Courage is just, look, I'm afraid, I'm doubtful, I'm worried about what people think, but you know what? My belief, my clarity is so much bigger than the fear or the doubt or the pride that I'm going to just keep walking forward. And then that's when essentially courage takes hold. That's really what happened for me, is that I was told that I didn't have enough talent to make it in a top 10 radio market. And now I co-host the second largest radio show in the world. I'm a routine guest on broadcast and cable news. So I don't say that to be glib in any way and arrogant, but the reality is I believed that for a season, that I didn't have the talent. And then at some point I had to overcome that. And then I got clear that I had the tools. I got clear on some other evidence, and that made me believe and made me confident that if I was given a shot, that I had what it took. And so, that's where that audacity comes from, is a tremendous amount of belief, which is built on enormous clarity.
Ken, what you just told me, there's a compounding effect to clarity. My goodness. Think about, at Ramsey with you all talking about money and finances. I think about the compound interest and investing, but what greater compounding occurs when you know and have clarity? My goodness, Ken, a lot of gems you're sharing right there. Well, Ken, you've through God working through your life, you overcame adversity, and here you are working alongside Dave Ramsey and so many other wonderful people at the company. And now you're a Ramsey personality. For those who really don't know what that is or what they do, just give us a day in the life of being a Ramsey personality.
Well, that title is just what Dave calls those of us who have been selected to be public communicators around a message, whether it be the money message or a meaningful and purposeful work message that I share. And so we are part of the succession plan here at Ramsey Solutions, where Dave wants to have other communicators and thought leaders that communicate to the public at large. And so a day in the life is for me, I'm doing content every day. So whether it be podcast, YouTube, radio, or Sirius XM, currently writing one book, planning a second book. The day is focused around developing content and products and services that meet the mission. And my mission is to help people discover and do what they were born to do. And so it's every day is different, I may have a podcast that I'm a guest on. I may be interviewing somebody for my show. It is a roller coaster based on the rhythms that we've created and the goals that we've got, and then things that pop up and new ideas and new opportunities. So every day's different.
That's good, Ken, giving us a little insight, what you do daily. And what I love about you saying that, Ken, is while there's a title, you're just walking it out day to day, serving. Really, that's what it comes down to.
I am doing the work,
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that is, so the way I look at it is that I don't care what my job title is. And I'm even less concerned about, what the official description is. I'm focused on the tasks and the results. Am I good at it? And do I care deeply about it? And I think if we just keep it that simple, it allows us to stay focused and not get distracted about things that just don't matter.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, Ken, when you're working with people day to day, you've got the show, and you mentioned you've coached over 7,000 people. As a work expert, when people call in on the show, just talk about some of the transformation that you've observed when you have people come into clarity, when they come to you with various issues that they have. Just talk about some of the transformation you've seen that people have when they understand what they want to do, why they want to do it, and actually take action. Because I know you're big on that. Like, hey, done a lot of research. We need to get clear. It's time to take action. Just talk about some of that you get to do and working with people over the air.
Well, I think when we talk about transformation, what are some of the transformations that I see? Sometimes it's in the moment. I can hear a person's voice change. I can hear them go from crinkling their brow, to smiling. I was just reminded the other day, I was coaching someone live on the air and I could hear her smile. She didn't laugh, but I literally could hear her smile. And, that's a transformation of, again, going from unsure to certain. And uncertainty to certainty is a beautiful transformation. And I see a lot of that. Certainly we hear stories after the calls, and I'll meet them in person, or they'll email us or reach out on social media that their whole life has changed from the physical, emotional, and mental to the financial because they decided to get unstuck and move into their purpose. We hear stories all the time of great promotion stories, people making tremendous amounts of money, things of that nature. So those transformations really run the gamut.
Mm. Ken, in being a work expert, you get to hear where a lot of people are mentally, emotionally. People have relocated coming out of the last 3 years. There's been a lot of different workplace trends. And so what have you observed, Ken? There's a lot of talk about return to office. There's this quiet quitting phenomenon. Just talk about and comment on some of the trends that you've observed and maybe inject some hope going forward.
Well, I don't know how hopeful this will be for some people, but as far as the trends go, I think we're going to see the world of work continue to shift around, and I think we'll end up landing with hybrid work probably being the predominant model. Where we stand right now is we've seen remote work, the percentage of Americans that are in remote jobs, 100%. Those numbers are back to pre-pandemic numbers. So I think it's about 19%, and where it skyrocketed during the pandemic. And now we've seen a lot of major companies saying, you know what, you need to be back in the office. But you got a mix of of leaders saying, we want you back in the office full time, or we want you back in the office some of the time. I think what we're seeing shake out is the hybrid model is people in the office Tuesday through Thursday, working remote Monday through Wednesday. They may flip that around during the given week, but I think that that's where eventually we're headed. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that everybody's going to adopt hybrid work. I'm just saying, I think if you look into the future, my best guess is that we'll see the hybrid work model be the dominant demographic of companies. Mm-hmm. Because again, you can make the case for all of these types of work, remote, hybrid, and full time. But I will tell you, if you want to have a culture that thrives and is collaborative and is creative and is the best for everybody, certainly being in and around people is always going to be the best. But I'm not someone who thinks that a hybrid model is a bad idea. I think it's probably the best of the three because I think it's appealing to the most people. And I do think if it's done right, it can be very, very effective. I know for a fact that, I work very well creatively sometimes when I need to be alone, but then I always need to take that creative output and I need to run it through a collaborative process. So I certainly can see all sides of it. I think you're going to see a growing trend of companies moving to a 4-day work week. It's been piloted. It's been tried by some. Some rave about it. Others say it creates more problems. But I think that trend is coming. So that'll be very interesting. The other big trend that I'm seeing is companies are now, trying to take on this whole mental health thing, and they're worried about liabilities. They're worried about the way they come across, and so they're focusing on Band-Aids and painkillers, things like mental health days and quiet rooms or serenity rooms, things of this nature that are really addressing only the pain, not seeking to remove the pain. And I think we have a leadership crisis in America. Where if you're having to hire and again, I like the hire, the question is, will it change? But we're seeing chief wellness officers and things of that nature. But until leaders understand that they are the source of many of the stresses and mental health issues, and we've got to have leaders top down leading other leaders well and creating a healthy culture and healthy work rhythms, then none of this stuff is going to change. And you'll see the musical chairs that really began with the Great Resignation continue to happen. So less and less loyalty, more and more worker demands, and what I think is an increasing tension between the worker and the leader in the American workforce. I think it's a real pressing issue, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Interesting indeed. And Ken, that was a great breakdown of some of the trends that you've been observing. And I hope for the listeners out there, as you're listening to how Ken is laying that out for you again. He tried to inject the hope where he could, but it's really being well informed and taking action so that you can walk in purpose and do what you need to do for your family and live a fulfilling life. And so, Ken, with that being said, one of the things you do is you provide a lot of resources for folks, and one in particular, the Get Clear career assessment. Can you talk about that resource and what it does for people?
Yeah, this is a tool that I developed because it was inspired by the process that I went through on my own, where I just had to dig into self-awareness. And I wanted to create a tool that would do for people that what I did for myself, but that was so much easier. And so over years and years and years of just kind of working through this process on my own and then coaching people, we developed the assessment to measure, and it's an awareness tool. It is an awareness assessment. It is not a personality assessment. It is not going to tell you what your dream job is specifically. What it will do is give you awareness in 3 vital areas. What you do best, that's talent. Second, what you love to do. We're talking about work here. And what brings you great joy when you are engaged in this type of a task or a role. And then it measures what motivates you. And so when we can put those 3 elements together, think of them as wires, 3 different color wires. This is how I'm wired. And I got my talent wire, and talent is a tool. Your top talents are power tools. If you think about a power saw versus an old school hand saw, it's pretty clear which one of those is the premium tool. It's the one that does excellent work with great efficiency. And when we think of our talents as tools that were given to us and are designed to do specific work efficiently and excellently, and in return it feels effortless to us, then we begin to see how our talent gives us clues to the work we love to do. And we've got to understand that there's work that when we engage in this work, we look forward to it. We lose track of time. We can't wait to get back at it. It gives us, as I call, the juice. And we are naturally fired up. And then all work creates results. And so if passion is what I enjoy doing, what I love to do, my mission is the result or results that I want to produce in the world. When we think of a military mission, it's a very clearly defined mission. Go in here, blow this up, get the bad guys, and get out. And so if we think about our work, do we have a missional component to our work? We should. We should see that this work is creating this result that I care deeply about. And so now I am on my mission at work. And so when I use what I do best, talent, to do work that I love, passion, to produce results that matter to me, mission, I am on purpose. I am doing what I was created to do, and I can do that in multiple different places. So in other words, once I know my seat in the world of work, all I got to do is focus on getting on the right bus.
Yeah.
And so I can move professionally and do multiple jobs, even multiple paths of career choice, but I can do it all on purpose. And so knowing talent, passion, and mission, we put all those results into a purpose statement. And what people walk away with is a pretty high-level job description that as they're out there looking at the world of work, they go, does this job description match up with this purpose statement? It's pretty eye-opening. And so this tool does, again, the 3 things that I mentioned earlier. It gives me clarity first and foremost. It gives me tremendous awareness of who I am and how I'm uniquely designed. The second thing it does is it gives me confidence to accept that narrative now and go, this is who I am. This is how I'm uniquely designed. And then it allows me to have the courage to step out and step up.
That is huge, Ken. And you talked about talent and mission. And this is a perfect segue, because this gets into your book, From Paycheck to Purpose, because Ken, there's so much rhetoric out there. People are trying to get to the money. They're trying to get to the bag, but so many people end up misaligned with where they are because they haven't considered some of the things you're talking about. And maybe they have the talent, but they haven't really thought about their mission, or they thought about their mission, but maybe their talent is out of alignment with where they are. So talk to us about your latest book, From Paycheck to Purpose, and what readers can get out of it.
Sure. Well, the Get Clear assessment is the compass, and the book Paycheck to Purpose is the field guide to get you to your destination. By the way, people can get the assessment, kencoleman.com/assessment. The book itself outlines the 7 stages of discovering and then fulfilling your purpose and work. Stage 1 is get clear. We've been talking a lot about get clear, obviously. Stage 2 is get qualified. Once I know what it is I want to do and where I want to do it, I got to get qualified. I got to get a ticket to the dance. And then stage 3 is get connected. Connections are everything. They lead to opportunities. Stage 4 is get started. So I'm clear in stage 1. I'm getting qualified in stage 2. While I'm getting qualified in stage 3, I'm getting connected, and those will bring opportunities for me to say yes and step up. That's get started. That means I'm going to actually launch. And stage 5 is where we're on the ladder, but stage 5 is get promoted. We want to climb the ladder. We're keeping our progress moving up the mountain, if you will, or up the ladder. And then stage 6, as I eventually get there, I found that seat on the bus. I know what the dream job is. And the dream job is defined by looking at that purpose statement, those 3 elements. The dream job is where I'm spending about 75% of my day or more using what I do best to do what I love to produce results that matter to me. That's the dream job. And I could add a caveat, in a place where you're valued. Because I should say you could be using what you do best to do what you love to produce results that matter to you, but you're getting treated like crap and you're not valued and you don't want to be there. So that's the definition of the dream job. Okay. And then once we get there, our view changes. We've now gotten to that pinnacle to where we go, okay, I've achieved this and I'm in this role where I'm very fulfilled. And what happens is we begin to change our perspective here. So we've been going up, 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 and now we're at the top, and then we look out. And Sir Edmund Hillary, who was the first human to summit Mount Everest, he was up there with his Sherpa climbing partner. We write about this in the last chapter of the book, From Paycheck to Purpose. Moments after they take pictures, they put a few souvenirs and memorables at the top of the peak. Hillary looked out, as anyone would do. You're at the top of the world. And as he began to survey what the world looked like from up there, he saw another mountain peak, and he said to his Sherpa, that's the one we climb next. And that's what happens in stage 6. We move into stage 7, where everything has been about get clear, get qualified, get connected, get started, get promoted, get the dream job. And the final stage is self-actualization here, where we go, wait a second, I'm now about giving myself away. I'm not working for money. I'm not working for approval or achievement. I'm working to give myself away. I want to make an impact. And so those are the 7 stages. And so the book is made up of those 7 stages. And I walk people through what you're doing in each stage so that you're moving forward to the next stage.
I love that, Ken. A field guide. So you have the tool and the assessment, and then you've got the field guide that walks people through how to get to their destination from paycheck to purpose. Ken, where can people grab a copy of the book?
KenColeman.com is the easiest place. I think you can certainly get it on Amazon as well, if that's where they prefer to buy books. And they can get the assessment at KenColeman.com as well.
Excellent. Ken, before we wrap, and obviously, I want to be careful how we ask this because we know that there's some things in the hopper, but what are you most excited about that you're working on? You alluded to a couple things earlier in the show, but that are coming maybe by the end of 2023 or maybe sometime next year in 2024.
Yeah, I'm working on a small book right now that is going to be a rubric, a decision-making grid on answering the question that a lot of people ask, should I quit my job? So is there a way? And we've got a 4-part question where you've got 4 different questions. And so working on that right now, because I want to give people something very small and simple that they can go, okay, if I answer these 4 questions, I'm going to be able to walk away and be able to answer the question, should I quit my job, with great clarity and great confidence. Because so many people quit sometimes when they're the problem. And they think everybody else is the problem. Some people quit too soon. Yeah. They're not willing to stay with it long enough for things to work themselves out. So that's a fun little project we're working on. I'm working on another book that I'm not going to talk about right now because it's too early, too soon. And we're excited about the student edition of the Get Clear assessment for high schoolers and college students, that early on, before they walk out of school, or hopefully before they even go to a school and start taking out a loan, that they answer that. So we've got that. We also have a curriculum called Foundations in Career Discovery. And so that's a curriculum that students can take, home study, and parents can walk alongside of them and get them prepared for the future so they don't make a decision they can't afford and can't use.
Wow, Ken, there's a lot of good things in the hopper there. I know I'm looking forward to, as well as the listeners, to all those resources upcoming. Ken, that's all we have time for today. Just want a huge shout out and thank you to you coming on the show. What's the best way for people to connect with all your content and all the value you add day to day?
Well, thank you so much for having me. Again, the website, we have a ton of free resources as well and articles that are very, very helpful to folks. That's kencoleman.com, kencoleman.com. And then I'm on social media, Instagram at Ken Coleman. You can search Ken Coleman on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, the whole 9 yards. So if they want to connect on social, that's also an easy way to get involved.
Excellent. And thank you, Ken. And folks, we'll have all of these in the show notes as well. So fortifiedlifepodcast.com, jerichoforcepodcast.com/podcast under blog. We'll have all of Ken's resources. So don't you worry, you will get your hands on them. But Ken, thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Thanks, Jason.
Well, folks, you know how we leave things. Don't compartmentalize your faith in the marketplace, and from the boardroom to the bathroom, God is with you. We'll see you next time on the Fortified Life Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Fortified Life Podcast. You can catch us live on Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time and on demand. Check out fortifiedlifepodcast.com for more details. To learn how to live out your faith in the marketplace, grab a copy of Jason Davis's book, Fortified, Being Rooted in God's Plan for Work and Business, available on Amazon.